Hello, candidates. So, we are going to discuss the questions that appeared in today's prelims examination. This is about economy sections. Okay, so there have been 17, 18 questions, and now we are going to look on those questions one by one. So, the first question here is this, that rapid financial instrument and rapid credit facility are related to the provisions of lending by which of the following. Okay, so understand that this year the question paper with regard to economy section was typical, that there have been questions, direct questions, factual questions, then there have been certain conceptual questions. So I don't see any major shift in the design of the question paper so far as economy is concerned. Okay, so was a direct question, and the answer is IMF. That is, it is the IMF which provides rapid financing instrument and rapid credit facility for those countries which are facing balance of payment issues. Okay, so this has been in news also, because there have been various articles in the newspaper with regard to the crisis that we are witnessing in Sri Lanka. So you can say that the question is inspired from that also, but yes, this is a direct question, and the source is IMF website. Okay, next question is that with reference to Indian economy, consider the following statements. An increase in nominal effective exchange rate indicates appreciation of rupee. Okay. Now, what is NEER, nominal effective exchange rate? NEER is nothing but the weighted geometric mean of domestic currency and also the currencies of major trading partners. Okay, so it is a weighted geometric mean of domestic currency vis-a-vis the currencies of major trading partner. So that statement is correct, that if there is increase in NEER, that actually indicates the appreciation of rupee. Okay, so that statement is correct. And the second statement is an increase in REER, that is real effective exchange rate, indicates an improvement in trade competitiveness. So what is REER? NEER is the weighted geometric mean of the domestic currency vis-a-vis the currencies of major trading partners. How REER is different from NEER? Here, REER is also going to take into account the inflation level, level in respective economies. Okay, so changes in the price levels of the domestic economy with respect to the changes of the price level that are happening in the economies of the major trading partners, who are the major trading partners. So that is something which is also accounted for in REER. Okay, and here this statement becomes incorrect, because increase in REER is not going to indicate improvement in trade competitiveness, because increase in REER actually makes your exports expensive. Okay, and when exports become expensive, they lose their competitive edge. Okay, so it is actually going to decrease the competitive edge of the exported items. It is also going to decrease the cost that you incur in imports. So exports become expensive and imports become cheaper. So that is what happens here, and that is why this statement becomes incorrect. Okay, now the third statement is that an increasing trend in the domestic inflation relative to inflation in other countries is likely to cause an increasing divergence between NEER and REER. Okay, as I told you, that REER also accounts for the level of inflation in the economy, and that is why, because it is being determined by the prevailing price level, if there is inflation, then there will be a larger difference between NEER and REER. So the divergence will increase because of the inflation in countries. Okay, so because inflation is accounted for while you go for the estimation of REER, so that is the reason. So this statement also becomes correct. So the answer would be C, that is 1 and 3. Okay, 1 and 3. Okay, coming to the next question, that is With reference to Indian economy, consider the following statements. Okay. First is, if the inflation is too high, then Reserve Bank of India is likely to buy government securities. Okay. If inflation is too high, that means if inflation is too high, that means money supply in the economy is high. Okay. Inflation refers to too much money, a situation whereby too much money is chasing too few goods. So that is what we know as inflation. Now, if RBI is likely to buy government securities, now if RBI buys government securities, then what will happen? Let us see. RBI and market. So if RBI buys government security, that is the government security goes from market to RBI. If it is buying government security, then RBI will pay rupee. So rupee will go to the market and government security will come from market to RBI. Now, don't you think that if the problem is because of increase in money supply, then by buying government security, RBI is going to increase the money supply further. Okay, and that is why this statement is incorrect. RBI in that case is likely to sell government security and not buy it. Okay, so that statement becomes incorrect. Okay, and now with this elimination, with this by saying that this statement is incorrect, you can infer the answer, because this will not be the answer, this will not be the answer, and this will not be the answer. So this is the answer, that is second and third. And those statements are actually they are very much correct, because if the rupee is rapidly depreciating, RBI is likely to sell dollars in the market. Okay, so because RBI by selling dollars will add to the supply of dollars. Okay, and when there is increase in supply of dollar, rupee will appreciate. So in a situation of depreciation, RBI is going to sell the dollars, and that will increase the supply of dollar. Okay, now the next is, if interest rate in USA or European Union were to fall, that is likely to induce RBI to buy dollars. Okay, so that is likely to induce RBI to buy dollars, because in that case what will happen, there will be, if there is increase in the interest rate, if there is decrease in the interest rate, that is fall in the interest rate, then that will lead to what? More supply of dollars. Okay, more supply of dollars. So in that case, that will be a better step, that is RBI is going to buy the dollars to average out the effect. So that is why answer is B, that is second and third. Next, with reference to G20 Common Framework, consider the following statement. Okay, so this has also been a direct question. It just requires this initiative, because this has been in news in contemporary times, because this framework actually targets low income countries, and many of the low income countries which are facing debt issues, then through this framework those countries are being helped. So for example, uh, just read the first statement first. It is an initiative endorsed by G20 together with Paris Club. Okay, so you already know what is G20. Paris Club is actually nothing but the traditional, conventional creditors of G20. For example, France, UK, and all. So yes, this is an initiative which is endorsed by G20 and also endorsed by Paris Club, but it is also nowadays ensured by new creditors like India and China. Okay, these are new creditors. They have never been part of Paris Club, which are the conventional creditors. But now they are also adding to this initiative. Means this initiative is also being endorsed by countries like India and China. Okay, and the second, so this statement is correct. And second statement, that it is an initiative to support low-income countries with unsustainable debt. That statement is also correct. Okay, so countries like Ethiopia, Chad, these countries have been provided the benefit through this framework. Okay, so the answer is both 1 and 2. Okay, coming to the next question, that is, with reference to Indian economy, what are the advantages of inflation indexed bonds? Okay, what are the advantages of inflation indexed bonds? Now see, uh, In this question, you might get confused while reading first and second statements. Okay. So, for example, government can reduce, first reading the first statement, government can reduce the coupon rates on its borrowing by way of inflation index bonds. Okay, let us consider that you do not know whether government can reduce the coupon rates or not, because coupon rate simply means the interest. Okay, that that bond will accrue. So agreed that you might not be able to infer whether it can reduce the coupon rates on borrowings by way of IIBs or not. The second statement is also very simple, that IIBs provide protection to the investors from uncertainty regarding inflation. Okay. The third statement is the interest received as well as capital gains on IIBs are not taxable. Now, this has been made plain by RBI through various circulars, and this has been an established fact through various newspaper articles in contemporary times, that when it comes to inflation index bonds, they were primarily introduced to attract investors towards financial assets in situation of inflation. Because in case of inflation, what happens? Inflation reduces the willingness to save and also the capacity to save. When there is inflation, then people are less willing to save, that because when they save because of inflation, the real interest rate that they are going to get is going to be low. It is going to be discounted because of inflation. Okay. And because there is inflation, they are left with low disposable income, low level of disposable income. And that is why I say that in case of inflation, people are less willing to save and less capable to save. And because of that fact, they start investing their money in physical assets, for example, land and then gold. And for example, investing in gold creates a problem for Indian economy, because majority of the gold that Indians consume, that is imported. Okay, so a very minuscule part of the domestic demand for gold is met by domestic production. And that is why inflation index bonds have been introduced to attract the investors towards financial asset, because this is going to be a financial asset, or it is going to be a financial investment. Okay, while investing on land or gold is going to be physical investment on physical assets or physical investment. Okay, but when it comes to IIBs, no special tax concessions are provided, and that is why this statement, that is interest received as well as capital gains on IIBs, that is inflation index bonds, are not trade taxable. That statement is correct. That statement is incorrect. I'm sorry. Okay. So third statement, if you eliminate third statement, then you are left with only one option, that is option A, and that becomes your answer. Okay. So the trick was here. Okay, so now the very structuring of IIB is such that it helps government to reduce coupon rates. Okay, and second statement is very much correct, because IIBs provide protection to investors from uncertainty, and that is actually the sole purpose of this particular financial asset. Okay, now next question, that with reference to foreign owned e-commerce firms operating in India, which of the following statements are correct? Foreign owned e-commerce firms. Okay. So when it comes to the e-market or e-commerce, there are two kinds of e-commerce, or that you can say the whole market, the whole segment can be divided into two types. The first is market based e-commerce, and the second is inventory based e-commerce. Okay, so market-based e-commerce is that a firm is providing a platform, market platform, where producers and that is sellers and buyers are interacting. Okay, so the company is just providing a market, a platform. While inventory-based e-commerce means companies having control on the market platform, that is e-market platform, as well as maintaining its own stock of commodities of goods which are being sold in the same platform. Okay, so when it comes to Indian e-commerce market, then 100% FDI is available for market based e-commerce, while for inventory based e-commerce FDI is prohibited. Okay, here 100% FDI is available, here no FDI. Now, according to the rules of e-commerce FDI that were released in the year 2020, any company, any foreign for e-commerce firm, if it is selling more than 25% of the sold products in the market platform, in that market based e-commerce platform, then it is going to be counted as inventory based e-commerce, and there no FDI is permitted. Okay, so this is actually the basis of the question of the concept here, and also the information which was required on your part to answer this question. So the first statement, that they can sell their own goods in addition to offering their platforms as marketplaces. Yeah, to some extent they can, because when you see Amazon and all, these companies are able to sell the goods. Okay, the second statement is the degree to which they can own big sellers on their platform is limited. Yes, by the same rule, this particular provision has been made, that yes, the degree to which they can own big sellers on that platform, that is limited, that is 20%. Okay, so both statements in this context are correct. The answer would be both 1 and 2. Then the next state, with reference, which of the following activities constitute the real sectors in the economy? Real sectors in the economy. Okay, now again a very easy question, if you know the concept. Sectors, when it comes to sectors of the economy, the sectors can be of two kinds. First is, one classification of the sectors can be like this: real sector and financial sector. Okay, real sector and financial sector. See, both sectors are interdependent, but it is the real sector which involve actual transaction of economic actual economic transactions involving the transaction of goods and services. And this sector actually accounts for the estimation of national income and GDP. Means when this national income or GDP is calculated, it is actually this sector which becomes part of that accounting. Okay, so coming to these options which are given here: farmers harvesting their crops. Farmers harvesting their crops, that is actually the agricultural produce we are talking about. Okay, definitely part of GDP calculation, and also part of, and because of that, part of real sector. Then textile mills converting raw cotton into fabrics, a clear case of value addition, and that is the gross value addition in this sector will become part of GDP. Okay, so yes, this will also be part of real sector. First and second will become part of real sector. A commercial bank lending money to trading company, so that is not something which you account for national income or GDP. Okay, so that is something which comes in financial sector. Then corporate body issuing rupee denominated bonds, again something which you include in financial sector and not real sector. Okay, so in the national income accounting, in the calculation of GDP, these 1 and 2 which are actually included, and not 3 and 4. Okay, so they constitute, or they are part of real sectors of the economy. So 1 and 2 is the correct answer here. Okay, okay, next, which one of the following situations best reflects the indirect transfer often talked about in media recently with reference to India? Often talked about in media recently with reference to India. So the question is about indirect transfer. Okay, so indirect transfer, this term has been in news and many of the news articles in last 1 decade, I would say. Okay, so this is not a new term. This has been in news right from the retrospective taxation issue जब emerge हुआ India में. So लगातार ये issue रहा है. So what is indirect transfer? Just consider the case of any foreign entity holding shares or any particular economic entity in India, and instead of transferring that asset, instead of transferring that asset, it transfers the shares of that entity which is holding. Okay, so any foreign entity holding shares or any particular economic entity in India, instead of offering that asset, instead of transferring that asset, transfer the shares of that particular entity. That is the case of indirect transfer. Okay, so it was a direct question where the first statement, an Indian company investing a foreign enterprise and paying taxes to the foreign country on the profits arising out of its investment, that is not actually indirect transfer. A foreign company investing in India and paying taxes to the country for its base on the profits arising out of its investment, that is also not what we know as indirect transfer. An Indian company purchases tangible assets in a foreign country and sells such assets after their value increase and transfers on the proceeds, not the case of indirect transfer. A foreign company, a foreign company transfers shares, and such shares derive their substantial value from the assets located in India. This is a case of indirect transfer. Okay, instead of transferring the asset, the company is transferring the shares. So that is why it is called indirect transfer. Okay, that is the reason why it is called indirect transfer, that instead of transferring the assets, the company transfers the shares. Okay, next is with reference to the expenditure made by an organization or a company, which of the following statements are correct? Okay, acquiring the new technology is a capital expenditure. So you know what is capital expenditure? Capital expenditure would add to the assets which is going to increase the returns in future. So that is what you know as capital expenditure. Then acquiring new technology is definitely going to increase the productive capacity. Okay, and it is going to add, it will lead to the addition of assets and will increase the future returns, is definitely the capital expenditure. In that case, it will be a true statement. So that statement is correct. Uh, and consider the second statement, that debt financing is considered capital expenditure while equity financing is considered revenue expenditure. Debt financing simply means uh, financing the debt, that is borrowing, taking the money to by making it sure that you pay it back after a time. Okay, so that is first of all is receipt. Okay, while equity financing, what is equity financing? Means selling a part of ownership. Selling a part of ownership. That also is going to change the asset, okay, or that will bring about a change in the asset. So how do you differentiate between revenue and capital expenditure? In capital expenditure, brings about a change in the asset and liability, while revenue expenditure does not bring about any change in the asset and liability. While this kind of transaction, that is debt financing and equity financing, is going to bring about a change in the asset and liability, and that is why both will become part of capital expenditure or capital account. I can say capital account and not revenue. So this makes this statement incorrect. Okay, this particular thing makes statement incorrect. That is why only one will be true. The correct answer is ninth. The correct answer A hoga. Okay, so A alternative will be correct here. Okay, now with reference to Indian economy, consider the following statement. A share of the household financial savings goes towards government borrowings. Okay, so yes, that is the case. A share of household financial savings goes towards government borrowings because households invest, they make deposits in uh, post office banks, so that deposits become part of public accounts of India. In a way, that is a kind of a borrowing to the government, lending to the government. That from government side, it is a borrowing from the public. Okay. At the same time, household savings also are invested in national savings certificates, Kisan Vikas Patras, all that become part of public accounts of India. Then there is provident fund. So yes, this statement is true that a share of household savings goes towards government borrowings. Then dated securities issued at market related rates in auctions form a large component of internal debt. Very much true. Dated securities, which are distinct from treasury bills, are simply the government bonds. Okay, sure, government bonds are issued, auctioned in open market, and this is how government raise money from the public. And you can say that yes, debt securities are very much part of internal debt of the government. Okay, internal debt. So that statement is true. So both one and two are correct. Okay. Next statement. Consider the following statements. Tight monetary policy of US Federal Reserve could lead to capital flight. Okay. So that is actually referring to a situation of tapering of quantitative easing. You can say this is something which is happening nowadays. Okay. So during corona pandemic, the US Federal Reserves actually adopted a kind of quantitative easing that led to the lowering of the interest rate, and generally that also leads to the inflow of capital. But tight monetary policy would result into opposite, and that would lead to capital flight. Okay, because that is going to decrease the money supply in the market, and that in the market of USA, and that actually leads to a withdrawal of the investment from India's market also. So that is what you need refer as capital flight. So that statement is correct. Then capital flight may increase the interest cost of firms with existing commercial with external commercial borrowings. Okay, so there is a typo. The statement is capital flight may increase the interest cost of firms with existing commerce external commercial borrowings. So that is the correct statement. And that statement is actually correct, because when there will be capital flight, that will definitely be the result of tight monetary policy. That means the cost of borrowing will increase. Cost of borrowing will increase, and that will increase the cost of existing external commercial borrowings also. So capital flight, which will be the result of tight monetary policy, will also be the result of high cost of borrowing, will result into the cost or increase in the cost of existing commercial external commercial borrowings. Okay, so capital flight may increase, yeah, it may increase the interest cost of firms with existing external commercial borrowings. So that statement is correct. Okay, next statement is devaluation of domestic currency decreases the currency risk associated with ECBs. Okay. Now, depreciation, you already know. Depreciation means that the domestic currency, if Indian currency is witnessing depreciation, that means it's losing its value vis-a-vis dollar. Okay. Or with respect to any other currency where we are measuring or making that kind of comparison. And when it is purposely done by central bank, that is called devaluation. Okay, so the effect of depreciation and the devaluation in that sense will be same. So devaluation of domestic currency, you can first consider this case of depreciation. Depreciation of domestic currency actually increases the currency risk associated with ECBs. It does not decrease the currency risk. And if depreciation leads to the increasing in the current leads to the increase in the currency risk, same will be the effect of devaluation. Okay, so that is why this statement is incorrect. It actually adds to the problem there. Okay, adds to the problem there. And that has been the issue when we have recently seen the sliding of rupee. Okay, because that increases the cost of external commercial borrowings. And I think that the question takes inspiration from that issue that has been in news nowadays. Okay, next statement, next question. In India, credit rating agencies, okay, just see the answer here. So I think you can reduce the answer now. Third statement is incorrect. See, this time I have seen that UPSC has made questions difficult while making the alternatives. But if you are able to infer any single alternative, then the kind of settings that it has provided while giving alternatives, final alternatives, those are comparatively easy. See, you just eliminate third statement and you get the answer here. Okay. So this has been the case in many other questions also. Consider the following statements. In India, credit rating agencies are regulated by Reserve Bank of India. Okay. In India, credit rating agencies are regulated by SEBI and not Reserve Bank of India. Okay. So it is the SEBI and not Reserve Bank of India which actually regulates credit rating agencies. So this statement is incorrect. And now again, the thing that I just told you is visible here also. Just eliminate first option and you get the answer here. That is second and third, because all three other alternatives are eliminated if you know this fact that the credit rating agencies are actually regulated by SEBI. And second and third statement, even if you do not know, you get the answer. But yes, that is ICRA is actually a public limited company, which is a rating agency. Then Brickwork Ratings is also a Indian credit rating agency. Okay, so this statement is also correct. So this was rather easy. This question was very easy in that sense. Okay. Next question. With reference to the Bank Board Bureau, which of the following statements are correct? Okay. The governor of RBI is the chairman of BBB, that is Bank Board Bureau. Governor of RBI is the chairman of BBB. That statement is incorrect. Chairman of BBB, that is Bank Board Bureau, is appointed by Government of India. Okay, is appointed by Government of India. That is RBI. The governor of RBI is not the chairman. Okay, then second statement is BBB recommends for the selection of head for the public sector banks. That statement is correct. Actually, BBB was set up only to improve the functioning of public sector banks. Then the third statement is, and one such step which it is one such work or function that is performing is actually adding to the that same purpose only for which it was constituted. Then BBB helps the public sector banks in developing strategies and capital raising plans. So yes, that statement is correct. Actually, one very important mandate of Bank Board Bureau is to improve the functioning of public sector banks, the performance of public sector banks. Okay, so that statement is correct. Here also, you just eliminate first alternative and you get the answer. You can see here. Okay, so just eliminate first particular statement, first statement, and you get the answer. That is B is the correct option here. Okay. Okay, next question. With reference to convertible bonds, consider the following statements. Convertible bonds. Okay, so first statement, as there is an option to exchange bond for equity, convertible bonds pay a lower rate of interest. Yes, convertible bonds actually they offer lower coupon rate because they can be converted into equity. Okay, so they are kind of hybrid security instruments which offer this kind of facility that they are actually offering the best of, you can say, both bond as well as stock. Okay, so they can be converted into stock, and that is why, because if they are bond, they are going to earn a fixed income, fixed interest rate, or fixed yield in that sense. But they can also be converted into stock. Okay, so that is a share of the company. So that is what makes them different or distinct. That is actually a point of distinction between convertible bond and general corporate bond. Okay, so there is an option to exchange the bond for equity, and that is why convertible bonds pay a lower rate of interest. So generally, they pay a lower rate of interest. So you understand that convertible bonds are generally sometimes traded at like bonds, sometimes they are traded like stock. Okay, so that statement is correct, that yes, this there is an option to exchange the bond for equity. That is one reason why they are paid, they offer lower coupon rate or lower rate of interest. Okay, then the second statement, the option to convert equity affords the bondholder a degree of indexation to rising consumer prices. A degree of indexation to see, understand, because these bonds are hybrid security instruments. That means they can also be converted into stocks, and that is why they are correlated with the shares, and prices of shares actually are correlated with the price level, average price level in the economy, that is inflation. Okay, average price level. So prices of shares is correlated with the average price level, that is inflation in the economy. And that is the reason that if you have this freedom to convert it into equity, that is shares, then the prices of shares are actually connected or correlated with the average price level, that is inflation in the economy. And that is why there is a degree of indexation to the rising consumer prices, that is because of the correlation of the prices of shares and the average price level, that is inflation in the economy. Okay, so this is a link, and that is why this statement is also correct. So both first and second statements are correct here. Okay, next question. In India, which one of the following is responsible? Okay, before that, we have this question, that Vietnam has been one of the fastest growing economies in the world in recent years. So you can see that yes, Vietnam has been one of the fastest growing economy. So Southeast Asian economies are doing very good. In that sense, Vietnam is also one such country. So that statement is correct here. Then Vietnam is led by multi-party political system. That statement is incorrect. It is one party political system. So first statement is correct. Here you have this option and this option. And second statement is incorrect. That means this option is eliminated. Okay. So just by two statements, if you know that yes, this is a general information, is one of the fastest growing economy. This region has various economies which are actually growing in a very fast pace. So that is one fact that you should know. The other is simple fact that it is a one party political system, and this that is how you can actually infer the answer that C is the correct option. You don't need to go further. That gives you the correct alternative here. But you can go on reading the question, that is Vietnam's economic growth is linked to its integration with global supply chains and focus on exports. So that is a very simple statement. Any economy which is actually growing, it will have its linkage with the global supply chains. Now there will be differences only in terms of degree. Okay, to what extent there has been the link or integration. Okay, for a long time, Vietnam's low labor cost and stable exchange rates have attracted global manufacturers. So it's not a story of Vietnam alone. It is a story of various Southeast Asian and East Asian economies. So yes, low labor cost and stable exchange rates, that has been one factor. So this statement is also correct. Then Vietnam has most productive e-service sector in the Indo-Pacific. See, this statement is extreme. And now you will have a comparison of Vietnam with all the countries in Indo-Pacific region. So Indo-Pacific region have countries in East Asia also. So there are countries like Japan, South Korea, which are having more productive e-service sector than Vietnam. And that is why this statement is incorrect. Okay, so this becomes your correct alternative, that is 1, 3, and 4. Although you are able to deduce the answer just by selecting first statement and then concluding that the second statement is incorrect. You never needed to go further beyond the second statement, but still, if you want to confirm You are suggested many times to read the full question, and that is why there also you had a clue in fifth that it is not correct. Okay, so I think this was a simple question. Okay, next is, in India, which one of the following is responsible for maintaining price stability by controlling inflation? Maintaining price stability by controlling inflation is the task of Monetary Policy Committee. Okay, Monetary Policy Committee. Now, Monetary Policy Committee actually has 6 members. 3 are the members from RBI, and 3 members of Monetary Policy Committee are appointed by Selection cum Search Committee, which is headed by Secretary, Cabinet Secretary, and where Governor is also a part. Okay, so this is how MPC is constituted, and it is MPC which releases monetary policy. And this monetary policy actually targets inflation also, but Monetary Policy Committee is not given in the question. And remember that Monetary Policy Committee is headed by RBI Governor. So there is overwhelming presence of RBI in this committee, and that is why you can see that it is the Reserve Bank of India which will be the answer here. Secondly, there has been a monetary policy framework agreement. Which was signed in the year 2015, and that made RBI responsible for maintaining the price stability in the bracket of 4 plus minus 2, that is from 2% to 6%. So that was the mandate given by this agreement to RBI. Okay, so D will be the correct alternative here. Okay, next, with reference to non-fungible tokens, consider the following. So NFTs have been in news. Okay, so this is not a question just on economy. This is a general knowledge question. So what is NFT? NFT are actually, they are going to uh, ensure that any physical assets actually gets digital representation. So that makes the first statement correct, that they enable the digital representation of physical assets. So that statement is correct. Okay, then they are unique cryptographic tokens that exist on a blockchain. So just like cryptocurrencies, NFTs also employ blockchain technology, and that makes the second statement correct, that they are unique cryptographic tokens that exist on blockchain. Okay, then the third statement, that they can be traded or exchanged at equivalency, and therefore can be used as a medium of commercial transactions. Understand the one major difference between NFTs and cryptocurrency is that cryptocurrencies are fungible and also tradable. Okay, while these NFTs cannot be traded or exchanged at equivalent value because they are not fungible. Okay, one reason is that they are not fungible. So that is why this statement is incorrect. That is why this statement is incorrect. So what is the answer? Eliminate the third statement and you get the answer here, that is A, 1 and 2 only. Okay, so that was an easy question. You just needed to know that NFTs are non-fungible instruments, unlike cryptocurrencies, although they use the same technology, that is blockchain technology, and that is why every NFT is having a unique code. Okay, next, in India, which one of the following compiles the information on industrial disputes, closures, retrenchments, and layoffs in factories employing workers? So answer is very direct. This is a factual general knowledge question. Okay, so the answer is Labor Bureau. I think this does not require an explanation. This is a direct question. Okay. Okay. In India, what is the role of coal controller organization? Okay. Role of coal controller organization. Understand, this is also a factual question. It is generally not covered in conceptual part of the economy, but the trick was in the statements. Okay, so CCO is a major source of coal statistics in government of India. So it is a coal controller organization, and one mandate is that yes, it actually also collects statistics and also puts them before public. Okay, then it monitors the progress of development of captive coal and lignite blocks. Yes, coal controller organization actually uh, regulates, also have this keen observation of captive mining. Okay, so yes, it keeps a tab on the progress of captive mining. That statement is correct. It hears any objection to the government's notification relating to acquisition of coal bearing areas. So third statement is it hears any objection to the government's notification relating to acquisition of coal bearing areas. That statement also is correct because of the mandate that has been given to coal control organization. The trick was in the fourth statement, that is it ensures that coal mining companies deliver the coal to the end users in the prescribed time. Now this is something which is actually a collective task of multiple agencies working under the Ministry of Coal. Okay, and this is not done by coal controllers organization alone. Okay, that is actually not the mandate of coal control organization. So eliminate option 4. Option 4, you are left with option A and option C. While you should also know that yes, this statement is also correct, that it hears any objection to the government's notification relating to acquisition of coal bearing areas. So this is how you can attempt this question. This was a purely factual question, and I assure you that I expect I think that if you committed mistake in this particular question, this is not going to be a okay, decisive take. Okay, so because I expect that many of the candidates will be making mistake in this question. This was really difficult because you're not expected to study about all these bodies, okay, in such detail. So that is not going to make a difference. Okay, so that was the last question. Thank you very much.